You know what, if I worked for AT&T and somebody came in and asked for the HTC Titan, I'd probably say the HTC Titan. It's a little scary, but it's a powerhouse of a device. What's going on, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and this really is a monster when it comes to Windows Phone specs. It's got a 1.5 gigahertz processor, a massive 4.7-inch display, an 8 megapixel camera on the back with 720p HD video recording, and it's rocking Mango out of the box. Now this is $200 out of the gate with a 2-year agreement, so it's right up there with AT&T's 4G LTE devices. So is it worth it? We'll find out in the review. But first, some love to Best Buy Mobile. When you go into Best Buy Mobile to get this, you won't deal with rebates with this device or any other device. You won't deal with paperwork, waiting 8 to 10 weeks to get it back, those stupid annoying debit cards. At Best Buy Mobile, rebate free, which is pretty cool. Let's take a look at this HTC Titan. Should you go with this? Should you go with one of the LTE Android devices? Maybe you should even go with the iPhone 4S. We'll find out starting right now. You know what? Go big or go home. At least that's the strategy with the HTC Titan. This is a new Windows phone that's available now from AT&T, and it's $199.99, so it's right there with the high-end Android phones on the nation's second largest wireless carrier. But what this thing really has that makes it a winner, or at least makes it different from other Windows Phone 7 devices of the past, it has a gigantic 4.7-inch display. So just to give you a rundown of the specs here, we've got a 1.5 gigahertz single-core processor, and you know this is Windows Phone, so it doesn't really need a dual-core processor, but still, single-core here at 1.5 gigahertz. Then you have a 4.7-inch display, an 8 megapixel camera that shoots video at 720p. You got a front-facing camera as well, and then you have Windows Phone 7.5, also known by its code name, Mango. So you can see here again, huge display, and you know, even with myself, I have pretty big hands, and it's one of those, you know, it's going to be kind of hard to grip, and I think what I've seen the most or seen as the most challenging thing with this device is trying to use it with one hand. Even with myself with pretty long thumbs, I find it hard to travel when I'm typing from one side to the other. It looks pretty easy here, but when I'm using one hand, I find that it does require a little bit more work. But still, 4.7, it's getting awfully close to that tablet kind of divide between phones and tablets, if you will. So it's an interesting device. It's nice to see it on AT&T, and hey, choice is always good, and it's another, you know, high-performance device, high-performance Windows Phone device on AT&T. So just to give you an idea of what comes out of the box, you get AT&T Code Scanner, Family Map, My Wireless, Navigator, Uverse Mobile, all of which can be uninstalled. All you have to do is press over here and hold, and then uninstall from there. You can also pin to start, which means pin it to the start screen, which we'll cover in just a second. But you also get Xbox Live, you get HTC Hub out of the box, Microsoft Office, Photo Enhancer, and then YP Mobile, Twitter, and of course bandwidth I've installed as part of my testing of the device. But just to give you an idea, here's the home screen. You know, they're going for a really simple look here with Windows Phone 7.5, or Windows Phone 7 that is, with Metro UI. That's what they're calling their UI here, and it's intended to look like subway tiles. Now, one of my biggest gripes about Windows Phone is even in Mango, you can't customize the size of the tile. So take a look here, for example, at this HTC tile, or the calendar tile here, where I put in a little sample meeting. I don't know who Bill Johnson is, but apparently I have an appointment with him tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning in the city. So, you know, you look at these tiles, you're like, okay, rectangular. Well, I can see a messaging tile or maybe a Hotmail tile being rectangular because you can see previews of your messages or previews of your emails, or maybe even an AT&T one over here, the phone, being a rectangular tile because you can see your missed calls all in one little easy to see rectangular tile. We can't change those. The system customizes that on its own. So the system says, okay, this one's a rectangle, or a rectangle rather, but these are squares instead. So you know, there's no real way to customize that, which I don't care for. And still, even in version 7.5 or Mango, you can see here down in the themes, you still get the option to change between the dark and the light theme, but you get to change your accent colors, and that's it. So there's no real changes. You know, they should offer more colors, in my opinion, with the accents. Maybe offer some background wallpapers, things like that. I think as, you know, people start to adopt Windows Phone and they come into this, they're going to want some customization that they're familiar with on iOS or on Android. You know, at least the ability to change the wallpaper, maybe change around you know, some of the tiles a little bit, at least some minor customizations. I mean, you can argue that iOS is pretty closed when it comes to customizations itself, but at least you can change the wallpaper and things like that. The only time you're going to see the wallpaper on this device is when you open it up and turn it on for the first time when you get to the lock screen and you swipe up from the lock screen. So a little minor gripe there, but you get the idea of how it looks here. And of course, you can move all these around by pressing and holding. And this is Mango, so you'll notice that the About Me, or the Me section over here, is flipping around. It's giving me dynamic information on the tiles, and of course if I want to move these around, I certainly can. I can put Google Mail there, for example. I can move Me, press and hold, and then move it up here, and kind of move those around and configure those as I see fit. So you can see, you know, just a very responsive performance here. Windows Phone does a great job with that, and then of course they've added this in Windows Phone 7.5. I can press and hold the back button and scroll back and forth between my various my various things that I'm in progress, or various things that are in progress, and go straight to those. So if I wanted to go to messaging, for example, I could pop into messaging and see it there, which is actually where I want to be, because I want to test out the keyboard. So you can see here, 4.7-inch display means it's going to be incredibly easy to type in portrait or in landscape. And you can see here, both in portrait and landscape, the keyboard honestly is about the same size. And the reason why is because you lose some space on both sides. You lose some space over here because you got your network notifiers, you got your battery life indicator, and you lose some space over here because you have your quick keys, your attach, your send, and then you got some stuff over here where you can see speak, attach, and send. So the things I was saying, but by pressing the button you can see what those actually are. And then if there are additional settings, you'll see a little option to click settings and things like that down there. But here, 4.7-inch display looks good and pretty easy to type on. Though that said, if you're using one hand you may have some trouble. So we're going to say the busy, actually let's say the busy rumor dog is shopping for the holidays. Busy Rumor Dog's shopping for the holidays. You know, I really like Windows Phone's keyboard. They do a great job. I love the tactile feedback. I love the, or at least the sound feedback rather. I love the way it sounds. And I like the fact that I can come in here and quickly change the word just by pressing on it. I can either copy and paste it, or I can quickly change words around. Very easy to do. Just to get an idea, you know, I click whopping. I'm interested to see what this sentence is going to look like. They buys Rumor's dog is whooping or whopping for he holy days. So you can see they're pretty quick and easy to change. So if you see a word and you're like, oh, I misspelled that, or oh, I meant to say something else, click it, change it, and that's it. It's pretty easy to do. So that's a nice little feature. Again, keyboard is excellent on this device, and it keeps up with my typing, which I'm a fast typer, and I imagine that if you send a lot of messages, you probably are too. And it keeps up with my typing and is able to do it without any lag or anything whatsoever there. So that's a cool little feature. But to give you an idea of the construction of this device, that's something that really appeals to me about this phone. It's got a nice metal back here, feels good, and then down here, of course, you've got some plastic that goes well with the device, but plastic for the wireless antennas and for the battery and some other things down here. Now this whole thing comes off. If I press this and remove it, the whole battery door comes off to reveal 1,600 milliamp hour battery, which, you know, to me is a little bit too small for a device with this size screen. Now that said, I haven't had any real issues with the battery life, so that was a pleasant surprise. It did make it through the day with moderate use and actually ended the next day before it required a recharge. So that's pretty cool. You know, we see HTC providing devices with 1,600 milliamp hour batteries, and you know, it's kind of, on the Android side at least, because of the multitasking and because of the background processes, it's kind of counterproductive. But on this, no real problems whatsoever, so that's pretty cool. Take a look at web browsing here with me, and we'll go into Internet Explorer, and you can see no flash in this device just yet. We'll go into phonedog.com and get that loaded up so you can see. You'll notice some things. If you're coming from Windows Phone or you used it in the past, you'll see some changes here. You'll see that the browser bar is down here at the bottom now. You have the option to stop, and then over here you get your tabs, recent favorites, add to favorites, and more, so I can scroll up and down within that actual menu. Now this is a little pet peeve, and if you watch my Windows Phone videos, you know this is a pet peeve of mine, but just to rehash, you'll notice that it never shows the network notifier on top of the display. You have to actually pull it down, and I'm going to jump out of this real quick just to show you. It doesn't actually show it. It shows the clock, but you have to pull it down and you watch. It'll pop right back up after about 5 or 7 seconds. It'll go back up into the netherland, the nether parts of the display, if you will. So you can see it's gone. So every time I want to see battery life, or every time I want to see reception, I have to, or you know, where I stand with 4G or 3G or Edge, I have to constantly be pulling that down to get my status on connectivity. So that's kind of frustrating. I'd like an option at least to where you can keep that down on the screen at all times. So a little minor pet peeve, but still, you know, pet peeve nonetheless. Now one place where this really, really excels is pinch to zoom within the browser. I mean, this thing is a fast device, and you know, Windows Phone as a whole has done a great job with making it, you know, very, very easy to use, very friendly. You can see the transition effects are just awesome, and that 1.5 gigahertz processor is really performing well because you're seeing no lag whatsoever. Some beautiful transition effects. You know, I've always argued transition effects kind of pull the eye away from the lag, and you know, it makes it easy to see. So you can see there. Very, very simple as it gets dark on the transition side. So anyway, pinch to zoom, very responsive. Still no flash in the browser, so you're missing out on the advertisements here, but you can see very easy to pinch and zoom in, and I can come down here to about the author and see about Sydney and read all up on Sydney and get some more information on her. So using that as an example, you know, 4.7-inch display, maybe a little bit too big at times. Where this thing really, really excels is in media content. So whether you're watching a music video, you're checking out stuff on YouTube, or you're browsing the web, you're going to get a really nice experience here because it just holds so much information on the display itself.